So I got you as a group of ethnic minority young people who grew up in Hong Kong. And since we've discussed, I want to ask you guys a few questions. And I want to get a little bit about your insight about growing up, being a young person in high school. And you know, the aim of our gathering here is to, through these little sessions, we're able to find out a little bit more about your experience growing up. You know what? We'll just start with whoever has more experience. Who's the older one here? Christine's on my left here. Yeah.
I'm like here.
Christine.
Wait,
Okay, wait. You're on my bottom left.
Okay, let's all
am
point
I
to
the
Christine.
oldest?
3,
I
2,
think
1.
Jel's the oldest.
How old are you?
We can all point. No. She has-
18.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh, you're so young. I feel ancient.
Christine, you and
Okay.
I are both November, so go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Growing up in Hong Kong, I feel like, I mean, it's been okay. Like in terms of, it's such a broad topic. Like, I think language is obviously like the number one barrier. For some reason, they taught us French instead of Chinese.
Right. Where did you study?
So like, so weird. Poland Cook for primary school.
I see. Okay.
It was weird because like all the non-Chinese students, they're like, okay, all of you go to French class, and I'm like, I was in primary 1 and I was like, what is French class? And apparently,
Pardon my French.
yeah, I was like, what is this? I was a really dumb kid. Like I had no knowledge. I don't know. Are primary 1 students supposed to know where France is? Maybe, like, I don't know, but I didn't know. I was so confused. So language is definitely a barrier. In terms of, I felt like primary was the most difficult just because even though I was in an English EMI school, it was still like tricky. You know?
What about secondary school?
Secondary school was fine. I feel like, I don't know, it was also an EMI school, but then it was like more, I think people were more, well, not necessarily welcoming, but you know, it was nice because we had like, before we started the, you know, secondary 1, you know, we had like bridging courses and like summer camp. So it was kind of like, you know, you got to know everyone. Like, I mean, I feel like everyone was on the same page, you know. It was kind of like scary transitioning from primary to secondary, but with that summer camp and bridging courses, everything was nice. It was a lot less scary.
When did the bridging course happen?
Like a month before school began.
Right. Okay. You mean
and those are really important. Yeah.
Okay. You mean from primary?
Yeah. When you enter second, the new admits. Yeah. And it was. Yeah. I feel like that was really useful. I feel like if we didn't have that, it would be so weird. Like, you know, you wouldn't really know people. We had like leadership camps, but they were just, I think, meant to break the ice and just get people to know each other a bit better. It was really good.
Right. So, Ipana, did you study secondary school here as well?
Yeah.
For how many years?
In Caritas for 6 years.
6 years. So from where? From Form 1?
Yeah, from Form 1. Actually, I started studying in Hong Kong since primary 5.
Oh, okay.
I can't see you guys actually.
So you
where
had
did you study? Ipana, where did you study?
I in Caritas Tunman Mardin Foundation Secondary School.
So you were in a local school, right?
Yeah.
Right.
School.
Okay. But you're also in were you also in an English speaking program separate from the local students?
Actually, like most of the students in our school are like mostly like ethnic minority students. Yeah, most of them. Only like around 5-6 people are Chinese. So they didn't really like separate us. They just gave like, I think, more priority to us because all of us speaks in English instead of Chinese, and then most of the lessons were in English as well.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So the Chinese turned out to be a minority at your school. Oh, okay. Interesting. What about you, Jel? So you all three have different experience, huh? Growing up here.
Yeah, definitely. So I grew up here since kindergarten, because I was born here, but I went back to the Philippines, and then I came back when I was starting off kindergarten. So I had preschool in the Philippines. And for kindergarten, I studied in Williams International School in Kowloon. And I used to live there. And that school was English. The teachers were, if I remember, a lot of the teachers were Caucasians. The caretakers all spoke English to me. So I never felt Chinese at all. Like, as a kid also, I don't think I ever understood the concept of different languages. I just knew what I spoke. And I remember I only spoke Tagalog or Filipino when I came back from the Philippines. And when other people were trying to talk to me in English in the school, I cried. I didn't know what was happening. Like, what are you saying? But that was easily, I guess, because as a kid, your mind is absorbing everything. So I grew up with English and Filipino as a sideline. And when I got into primary school, that was just full on English. And to me, it felt as though Chinese, Mandarin, and French, they were options. And since they were very, very basic level, like right now when I think about it, compared to the English we were learning back then, the second, the Chinese, Cantonese, Mandarin, and French they made it seem like it was just a hobby kind of thing, like a lesson, and you can just learn this if you want, but you don't have to, but it's there in your syllabus. So in primary school, again, it was in a designated local school, Delia English Primary School and Kindergarten in Mayfu.
Oh, you went to Delia?
That's where, yeah.
Oh.
So it's EMI, but it's a local, but it's designated. So it's
right.
A strange hybrid.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
so I went to Delia and Mayfu.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Go ahead.
No, because Delia would mainly be associated with ethnic minorities from Pakistan and India,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
That's sort of
yeah. And then after that, I wanted to get into Broadway in Mayfu, but my teacher recommended me to find another school. So I went to where my friends were in YMCA. That's in Tongchong. And again, it's a local designated school. It's international, but it pays local. And it's also EMI. And the majority of us, kind of like what Vipana said, it's a lot of ethnic minorities, including Caucasians, not just Pakistani, not just the Southeast Asian, but also Europeans and Americans. And Chinese were the minority of the school. And that was interesting because from kindergarten to high school, I never really had an encounter where I felt like there was a language barrier. I knew that when we ate out, sometimes people would speak Cantonese, but I thought that was the minority. I always thought, because I have a church community since I was in primary, so we're always with that community. So I've always just been used to having English around me, people who are like face and like culture around me. So the only time that I realized, whoa, I'm the minority is when I actually got into the DSEs and when we were learning about the competition that the public exams and university actually is. And I don't know if it's because of my school personally, but I did not have a measurement on how big our competition was until getting into university, or not getting into university and then getting into college. And then when I was in college, the classes were taught in Cantonese, even though it was an EMI school. So I got into HKU space and then I articulated to Lingnan year 2 after a year. That's another thing. But yeah, that was the moment where I said, whoa, I don't speak the language of this city. And I thought that it was the minority language, but again, that's,
So you had this realization when you entered university?
Yeah, college.
Right. Okay. So what language do you speak?
Even though they were in EMI school.
Right, okay.
Oh, go ahead. At home, it's a mix between Filipino and English at home. But when I'm outside, it's mostly it's English.
And Bipana, what language do you speak at home?
I speak Nepali and English at home, and then outside, like, I speak English, Nepali, Hindi.
Right, okay.
It's like,
okay.
Yeah, different.
So,
but mostly English.
But did you study some Cantonese in secondary school?
Yeah, they only had like one lesson
Per week?
per like no, not per week, per
Semester.
day.
Per day.
Oh.
Okay, so you had
Yeah.
an hour a day.
It's like yeah,
Yeah.
one day. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I hope you know.
Yeah, and you, children, did you do Chinese in secondary school?
No, I took French. So
French,
the
okay,
weird thing
all the
about
way.
me is we were supposed to immigrate to Canada. It was when SARS was here, and then our parents were thinking, what if we move out of Hong Kong? So we were actually setting up to go to Canada. That's why I took French in high school. But when the visa didn't work out and we didn't go to Canada, I had French, not Cantonese. So I continued French in high school, not knowing what it would do or how it would help. And I'm not saying it doesn't help. It helps a bit, but it doesn't really help in Hong Kong.
Right.
So.
And Christine, did you learn Cantonese growing up?
It was weird. So in primary, they taught us Mandarin.
Right.
And then when we went to secondary, it was also French. French was still like, I learned French as a second language. And then we switched between Cantonese and Mandarin. Like, I think for the first 3 years, it was Cantonese. And then to gear for like the GCSE, we had to switch to Mandarin.
Okay. All right. I think we've had enough material for the day. So let's just thank you so much for you guys. So we'll just have to.
Okay.
Okay.